My granddaughter left me alone at the airport after my surgery, so I gave my vacation villa to her ex's mother. Standing outside my own villa, watching another woman unpack her bags while my granddaughter sobbed on the curb, I didn't flinch. She left me when I needed her most. Now it was her turn. Hi, my name is Marion Calloway. I'm 67, and I live in Savannah, Georgia. I never thought I'd find myself betrayed by someone I helped raise with my own hands. But life has a funny way of reminding you who truly values you and who only sees you as an obligation. I had surgery on my hip last month. Nothing too fancy, but I was told I shouldn't travel alone. My only granddaughter, Ava, promised to take care of everything. But what she did instead, that still stings. If this story resonates with your soul, hit that subscribe button and let me know which country you're listening from in the comments. I'd love to know where my words are reaching hearts. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic, a sharp reminder of the hip surgery that had left me stiff and aching. At 67, I wasn't expecting to feel young again, but the new joint was supposed to give me a chance to move without wincing. I sat on the edge of the bed, my cane resting against the chair, when Ava breezed in, her perfume cutting through the sterile air. My granddaughter, 24, all bright eyes and quick smiles, had been calling daily since the operation. Her voice, a lifeline through the fog of recovery. "Nana, you're looking strong," she said, dropping her purse on the chair and leaning in to kiss my cheek. "Ready to get out of here?" I managed to smile, though the pain meds made my head fuzzy. "More than ready, just need to take it slow." She nodded, her curls bouncing. "That's why I've got a plan. You've been cooped up too long. How about Italy? Your villa's just sitting there, waiting. A little sun, some pasta. Perfect for recovery, right?" I blinked, surprised. The villa in Tuscany, a small stone house I'd bought with my late husband, Tom, hadn't seen us in years. It was my sanctuary, a dream we'd built after decades of saving. But since Tom's passing, I hadn't had the heart to go alone. "Italy's a long way," I said, hesitant. "I'm not exactly sprinting through the airports these days." "That's what I'm for," Ava said, her grin infectious. "I'll handle everything. Flights, luggage, getting you settled. You just focus on healing. We'll make it a girl's trip, like when I was little." Her words warmed me, stirring memories of Ava at 10, chasing fireflies in our Savannah backyard. Her laughter echoing through the humid nights. I'd raised her after her parents, my daughter and son-in-law, died in a car accident when she was 8. She'd been my world, and I hers. Or so I thought. "You sure you've got time?" I asked. "Work's not too busy." She waved a hand, dismissive. "Work's fine. I'm a freelancer now, remember. I make my own schedule. Come on, Nana, let me take care of you." I studied her, searching for a crack in her enthusiasm. But her eyes were steady, her smile unwavering. "All right," I said, a flicker of excitement breaking through my caution. "Let's do it." The next week was a blur of planning. Ava booked the flights, sent me photos of the villa's olive grove, and promised to meet me at Savannah's airport to help me navigate. "I'll be there, Nana," she said over the phone, her voice bright. "Right by the gate. You won't lift a finger." I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my Ava, the girl I'd tucked in at night, the one who'd cried in my arms at her high school graduation. She wouldn't let me down. The day of the trip, I woke early, my hip throbbing but manageable with the cane. I packed light, just a carry-on with my meds, and a shawl Tom had bought me in Florence years ago. The cab dropped me at the airport, and I shuffled through security, my heart lifting at the thought of Italy. The villa's stone walls, the smell of rosemary in the air. I texted Ava as I reached the gate. "Here, where are you, sweetheart?" No reply. I waited, scanning the crowd, my cane digging into the carpet. Families rushed past, business travelers tapped their phones, but no Ava. 10 minutes turned to 20. I called her, got voicemail. My chest tightened, but I told myself she was stuck in traffic. Maybe her phone died. Then my phone buzzed. A text, "Change of plans, Nana. Something came up. I'm sure you'll manage." I stared at the screen, the words blurring. Something came up. No apology, no explanation. I tried calling again, my fingers trembling, but it went straight to voicemail. The gate agent announced boarding, her voice sharp over the speaker. I stood there, alone, my hip aching, my carry-on suddenly heavy. I was 67, post-surgery, barely able to walk, and my granddaughter, the one who'd promised to be my anchor, had left me to fend for myself. A woman nearby, maybe in her 40s, noticed my distress. "You okay, ma'am?" she asked, her voice gentle, a faint Boston accent. I swallowed, my throat dry. "My granddaughter, she was supposed to meet me. I just had surgery. I don't know if I can." She frowned, glancing at the gate. "You're traveling alone. That's not right. Come on, I'll help you board." Her name was Lisa, a nurse on her way to a conference. She carried my bag, steadied me as we boarded, and made sure I was settled in my seat. "You shouldn't be doing this alone," she said, shaking her head. "Family's supposed to show up." I nodded, my eyes stinging. I thought she would. Lisa stayed kind, checking on me during the layover in Atlanta, even wheeling me to the gate for my Florence flight. But her kindness couldn't erase the hurt. Ava's text looped in my mind, cold and careless. Something came up. What could have been more important than me? Her Nana, the one who'd raised her. I stared out the plane window, the clouds below a blank slate, and felt a crack forming in my heart. Not just pain, but suspicion. Why had she really left me? What was she hiding? When I landed in Florence, a hired driver took me to the villa, the familiar winding roads doing little to soothe me. The stone house was just as I'd left it, olive trees whispering in the breeze, but it felt empty without Ava's promised laughter. I settled in, my hip protesting every step, and called her again. No answer. I left a voicemail, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "Ava, I made it. But you weren't there. I need to know why." She didn't call back. That night, I lay in the villa's creaky bed, Tom's shawl draped over me, and replayed our last conversation. Her insistence on the trip, her bright promises, it had all felt so real. But now, alone in a house meant for healing, I wondered if I'd misread her. Had she ever planned to come? Or was this trip just a way to get me out of the way? The questions gnawed at me, each one a thread pulling at the trust I'd placed in her. I didn't have answers, but I had time, and a growing resolve to find out what Ava was really after. The next morning, I called Elaine, my friend back in Savannah, needing her sharp insight. "Marion, you sound rough," she said, her voice warm but concerned. "You okay over there?" "Not really," I admitted, sitting on the villa's patio, the sun warm on my face. "Ava ditched me at the airport. Said something came up. I barely made it here." Elaine sucked in a breath. "That's not right. You just had surgery. What's her excuse?" "Don't know. She's not answering." I hesitated, then asked, "Have you seen her around? I need to know what's going on." There was a pause. Too long. "Marion," Elaine said carefully, "I didn't want to worry you, but I saw Ava in Miami last weekend. Posted all over her social media, partying, some new guy on her arm. Looked like she was having the time of her life." My grip tightened on the phone. Miami. While I was hobbling through an airport, leaning on a stranger's kindness, Ava was dancing in a club. The betrayal cut deeper than the surgery scar, sharp and raw. "Thanks for telling me," I said, my voice flat. "You gonna talk to her?" Elaine asked. "Oh, I will," I said, a plan forming, though I didn't share it. "Soon." I hung up, staring at the olive grove, the leaves shimmering in the light. Ava thought she could leave me stranded, dismiss me like an obligation. She was wrong. I wasn't just her Nana, the one who'd raised her, paid her college tuition, given her everything. I was Marion Calloway, and I had a villa, a legacy, and a heart that wasn't broken yet. Whatever game she was playing, I'd find out. And when I did, she'd learn what it meant to lose something she thought was hers. Would you forgive someone who abandoned you after you had surgery? Or would you cut them off for good? Tell me what you'd do in the comments. I'm curious. The sting of Ava's betrayal lingered as I sat on the villa's patio, the Tuscan sun doing little to warm the chill in my heart. Elaine's revelation that Ava had been partying in Miami with some new guy while I struggled through the airport post-surgery cut deeper than my hip scar. I'd raised her, poured my love and savings into her, only to be discarded with a vague text. Something came up. The villa, my sanctuary with Tom, felt hollow without her promised presence, and her silence to my voicemails fueled a growing suspicion. Why had she pushed for this trip, then abandoned me? I wasn't just hurt. I was determined to find out what she was hiding. I spent the next morning on the phone with Elaine, my voice low, as I sipped coffee, overlooking the olive grove. "She's not answering, Elaine," I said, my cane resting against the table. "Not a word since that text. You sure it was Miami?" "Positive," Elaine replied, her tone sharp. "All over her Instagram. Clubs, beaches, some guy with tattoos. Didn't look like she was missing you." I gripped the mug, my knuckles whitening. "She insisted on this trip, said she'd be here, handle everything. Why lie?" Elaine hesitated. "Marion, you know Ava. She's always been impulsive. Maybe she got a better offer. Better than her grandmother, fresh out of surgery." I snapped, then softened. "Sorry, I need to know what's going on." "Dig a little," Elaine said. "Check her accounts, her friends. She's not as clever as she thinks." I hung up, my mind racing. Ava wasn't just impulsive. She was calculating when she wanted something. I remembered a moment years ago when she'd borrowed my credit card for school supplies and came home with new sneakers. I'd let it slide, blaming her youth. Now, I wondered what she was after. The villa, my savings, something else. I opened my laptop, but before I could search her social media, a memory stopped me cold. It was 2005, our 40th anniversary. Tom had blindfolded me, laughing as he led me off a Tuscan road to this very villa, a stone house nestled among olive trees. "Marion, open your eyes," he'd said, his voice thick with pride. I'd gasped, the deed in my hands, his gift to us after decades of saving. Our forever place, he'd called it, kissing my forehead. We'd spent summers here, cooking, dancing under the stars, dreaming of bringing Ava one day. After he passed, it became my anchor, the one thing I couldn't let go. It wasn't just property, it was Tom, our love, my heart. I shook off the memory, my resolve hardening. If Ava thought she could toy with me, she was wrong. I called the local property agent in Florence, Signor Rossi, who'd managed the villa's upkeep since Tom's death. "Marion, so good to hear from you," he said, his accent warm. "You're at the villa?" "Yes, but alone," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Ava didn't make it. Has she contacted you about anything?" A pause. "She called last week," he said cautiously. "Asked about listing the villa for short-term rentals. Said you'd approved it, wanted extra income. I was preparing the paperwork, my blood ran cold." "I never approved that," I said, my voice sharp. "Ava had no right. Cancel it, Rossi, now." "Of course," he said quickly. "I'll stop everything. I'm sorry, Marion." She was convincing. I hung up, my hands trembling. Ava hadn't just abandoned me. She tried to rent out my villa, my most sentimental possession, behind my back. For what? Money? To fund her Miami parties. The betrayal was a knife, twisting deeper. I checked my email, found a draft listing Rossi had sent to Ava, complete with photos and a price. She'd been steps away from turning my home into a stranger's vacation. I forwarded the email to myself, evidence of her scheme, and blocked her number. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet, but I was done trusting her. That afternoon, as I hobbled through the villa, my hip aching, an email pinged on my phone. It was from a Clara Martin, a name I didn't know. The subject, about Ava. My pulse quickened, but I opened it. "Dear Mrs. Calloway," it read, "I'm Ethan's mother, Ethan, Ava's ex. I heard you're in Italy recovering from surgery. I know what Ava's done, and I'm so sorry. I'd like to talk, if you're willing. I think we have more in common than you know. I stared at the screen, wary but intrigued. Ethan had been Ava's boyfriend 2 years ago, a quiet boy I'd liked until their messy breakup. Ava had claimed he'd cheated, but now I wondered. I replied, cautious, "Clara, I'm at my villa in Tuscany. If you're nearby, we can meet. Tell me what you know." She responded within minutes, saying she was in Florence, visiting family, and could come tomorrow. I agreed, though my guard was up. What did she want? Was this another trick? But something in her words, "I know what Ava's done," felt real, like a thread connecting us. The next day, Clara arrived, a woman in her early 60s, her face lined but kind, her gray hair pulled into a loose bun. She carried a basket of bread and jam, a gesture that softened me despite my caution. We sat on the patio, the olive trees rustling, and she spoke first, her voice steady but heavy. "Marion, I'm sorry to barge into your life," she said, setting the basket down. "But when Ethan told me Ava left you at the airport, I couldn't stay quiet. She's hurt you, just like she hurt me." I leaned forward, my cane beside me. "What did she do to you?" Clara sighed, her eyes distant. "Ethan loved her, but when they broke up, Ava didn't just move on. She spread lies, said I was a drunk, a thief, ruined my reputation in Savannah. I lost friends, my book club, even my part-time job at the library, all because I told Ethan she wasn't right for him." I gripped my chair, Ava's cold text flashing in my mind. Why go after you?" "Control," Clara said simply. "Ava doesn't like losing. When Ethan left, she punished us both. I heard about your surgery, how she ditched you. It's the same pattern." I nodded, the pieces clicking. Ava's charm, her promises, they were tools, wielded to get what she wanted. The villa listing wasn't a whim. It was a grab for power, money, maybe both. "She tried to rent this place out," I said, my voice low. "Without my permission, I stopped it. But it's my home, Clara, my husband's gift." Her eyes softened. "I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this." We talked for hours, the sun dipping low. Clara's story mirrored mine. Betrayal by someone we'd trusted, dismissed as old, irrelevant. But her kindness, the way she listened, was a balm. She helped me cook dinner, steadying me when my hip faltered, her presence grounding. "You're stronger than you know," she said, chopping tomatoes. "You made it here alone, after all that." I managed a smile, barely. "Thanks to a stranger at the airport." "Then let me be your friend," she said, her voice firm. "You don't have to do this alone." That night, as Clara slept in the guest room, I sat by the window, Tom's shawl around my shoulders. Ava's betrayal had cracked my world, but Clara's compassion was a new thread, weaving something unexpected. I thought of the villa, its stone walls holding my memories, and Ava's attempt to steal it. She'd underestimated me, thought I'd stay quiet, frail, forgiving. She was wrong. I didn't know what I'd do next. Confront her, cut her off, or something else. But Clara's presence gave me clarity. I wasn't just a grandmother scorned. I was Marion Calloway, and this villa, this life, was mine to protect. Whatever Ava's next move, I'd be ready. And I wouldn't face it alone. The villa's stone walls seemed to hold my resolve as I sat with Clara on the patio. Her quiet strength, a stark contrast to Ava's betrayal. Learning that Ava had tried to rent out my most cherished possession, Tom's anniversary gift, behind my back had hardened something in me. Clara's story of Ava's cruelty, smearing her name in Savannah after her son Ethan ended their relationship, mirrored my own hurt. Yet her kindness, helping me cook and move through the villa despite my aching hip, felt like a lifeline. As we talked into the night, I knew I wasn't just healing from surgery. I was redefining what family meant. Ava's absence left a void, but Clara's presence hinted at a new path, one I hadn't expected. The next morning, over coffee and Clara's homemade jam, I made a decision. The villa, my heart's anchor, deserved better than Ava's schemes. It deserved someone who understood its worth, not as property, but as a home for memories. Clara was buttering toast, her movements careful, when I set my mug down. Clara, I said, my voice steady. I want to give you something. She looked up, her brow creasing. Marion, you've already given me coffee and a place to crash. That's plenty. I shook my head, leaning forward. No, something bigger. You know that villa in Italy? It's yours now. Her knife clattered to the table, her eyes wide. What? Marion, number. Why would you do that? I took a breath, the words forming easily. Because some people see family as a duty. You treated me like family when you didn't have to. You showed up, helped me when I was alone. When my own granddaughter left me stranded. This place, it's not just a house. It's my past, my love for Tom. I want it to belong to someone who gets that. Clara stared, her hands trembling. Marion, I can't. It's too much. You barely know me. I know enough, I said, my tone firm but warm. You lost things because of Ava, just like me. Your reputation, your peace, but you didn't let it make you bitter. You helped me, a stranger, when you could have walked away. That's who I want here, in this villa. She shook her head, tears welling. I don't deserve this. I saw myself in you. Ava hurt us both, but you're still standing. That's enough for me. I reached across the table, touching her hand. And you're standing too. Take it, Clara. Let this be a new start. For both of us. She wiped her eyes, her voice soft. You're sure? This is your home. It was, I said, glancing at the olive trees, their leaves glinting in the sun. But home's not a place anymore. It's what I carry with me. I'll visit, maybe, but I want you to have it. Make it yours. Clara exhaled, a shaky laugh breaking through. I don't know what to say. Thank you. I'll take care of it. I promise. I smiled, a weight lifting. That's all I need to hear. We spent the day talking, not about Ava or the past, but about the villa's future, how Clara might plant herbs, host friends, maybe write the memoir she'd always dreamed of. Her excitement was quiet but real, and it warmed me. I called my lawyer in Savannah that afternoon, starting the paperwork to transfer the deed. It wasn't impulsive, it was right. Ava had tried to take what wasn't hers, but I was giving it freely to someone who'd earned it through kindness, not blood. That evening, as we cooked pasta, Clara asked, "What about Ava?" "She's going to lose it when she finds out." I stirred the sauce, my jaw tightening. Let her. She made her choice when she left me at the airport. When she tried to rent this place out, I raised her, gave her everything, and she saw me as an obligation. I'm done carrying that. Clara nodded, her eyes thoughtful. You think she'll come around? I shrugged. The ache of Ava's absence still there, but quieter. Maybe one day. But I'm not waiting for her to figure it out. I've got my life to live. She smiled, raising her glass of water. To new beginnings, then. I clinked my glass against hers. To new beginnings. The next day, Clara helped me pack for my return to Savannah, her steady hands folding Tom's shawl as I navigated the villa with my cane. I felt stronger, not just in my hip, but in my heart. Ava's betrayal had cracked my world, but Clara's unexpected friendship had shown me I could rebuild. The villa was hers now, a gift born of shared pain and mutual respect. I didn't know what Ava would do when she learned. Rage, beg, disappear. But I wasn't afraid. I'd made my choice, and it wasn't about revenge. It was about value. Who saw mine, and who didn't? As I locked the villa's door, Clara beside me, I thought of Tom, his laugh, the way he'd called this place our forever. He'd understand, I knew. Clara wasn't family by blood, but she was family by choice, and that was enough. Ava's shadow lingered, a question unanswered. But I wasn't chasing her anymore. I had a plane to catch, a life to reclaim, and a new friend who'd reminded me I was more than a grandmother left behind. Have you ever received kindness from a stranger when your own family failed you? Share your story in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I left the villa with Clara's promise to care for it, echoing in my heart. The deed transfer already in motion. The flight back to Savannah was smoother than the one to Italy. My hips steadier, my mind clearer. Clara's unexpected friendship had shifted something in me. Her kindness, born of shared betrayal by Ava, reminded me I could choose who deserved my trust. Giving her the villa, Tom's gift, and my most cherished possession, wasn't about punishing Ava. It was about honoring what mattered. Ava's abandonment at the airport and her attempt to rent out the villa behind my back had severed the last threads of my patience. I wasn't her obligation anymore, and I wasn't waiting for her to see my worth. Back in Savannah, I settled into my small house, the familiar creak of the porch, swing a comfort. I resumed my routines, coffee with Elaine, tending my garden, volunteering at the senior center, but carried a new lightness. The villa was Clara's now, a decision that felt like closing a chapter and starting another. I hadn't heard from Ava since Italy, her silence louder than any apology could be. I didn't expect one, but I braced for her reaction. She'd find out about the villa eventually, and I knew my granddaughter. Her temper would flare, her entitlement would burn. 3 weeks later, it happened. I was in the kitchen, kneading dough for biscuits, when the front door rattled with a furious knock. Through the window, I saw Ava, her face flushed, her curls wild. My heart thudded, but I wiped my hands on a towel, steadying myself. This was coming, and I was ready. I opened the door, my cane in one hand, my expression calm. Ava didn't wait for an invitation. She stormed in, her purse slamming onto the counter. "You gave my ex's mom the villa?" she shouted, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Are you out of your mind, Nana?" I leaned against the counter, meeting her glare. "No, Ava, I gave it to someone who didn't leave me sitting in a wheelchair at the airport after surgery." Her mouth opened, then closed, her eyes narrowing. "That's what this is about? You're punishing me because I missed one flight." "I had a life, Nana. I couldn't just drop everything to babysit you." I raised a brow, my voice low. "Babysit? You begged me to go to Italy, promised you'd be there, handle everything. I trusted you, Ava. I was barely walking, fresh out of surgery, and you left me with a text. Something came up. Miami, right? Partying with some guy?" She flinched, her cheeks reddening, but she didn't deny it. "You don't get it," she snapped. "I've got my own problems. You think I owe you my whole life because you raised me. I didn't ask for that." I took a step closer, my cane tapping the floor. "No, you didn't. But I gave it anyway. My home, my money, my love. And you tried to rent out my villa, Ava. My home with Tom. The one place that's mine. You didn't even ask." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't look away. "I was trying to help. You never use it. It's just sitting there, and I thought..." "You thought you could make a quick buck," I cut in, my voice cold. "Don't lie to me. I talked to Rossi. You didn't tell him I approved it. You went behind my back." She crossed her arms, defiant. "So what? You're too old to travel anyway. That villa's wasted on you. You owe me, Nana. After everything, you owe me." I laughed, a short, bitter sound that surprised us both. "What I owe you is a lesson, and I just paid in full." She stared, her fury faltering into something else. Shock, maybe fear. "You can't do this," she said, her voice quieter now, almost pleading. "That villa was supposed to be mine. You always said family comes first." "Family does," I said, my tone softening but firm. "But family doesn't leave you stranded, doesn't scheme to take what's yours. Clara showed me more care in one day than you did in years. She's family now, not by blood, but by choice." Ava's eyes welled, but her fists clenched. "You're throwing me away for a stranger, Ethan's mom. You know what she did to me, how she turned him against me." "I know what you did to her," I said, my voice steady. "You lied, smeared her name, cost her friends, her job. You hurt her, just like you hurt me. I'm not throwing you away, Ava. You threw me away first." She stepped back, tears spilling, but her anger flared again. "You'll regret this," she spat. "You think you can just cut me out? I'll fight it. That villa's mine by right." "Go ahead and try," I said, unmoved. "The paperwork's done. It's Clara's. And if you push, you'll find out how little you know about me." She grabbed her purse, her breath ragged. "This isn't over," she said, storming out, the door slamming behind her. The house fell silent, the biscuits forgotten on the counter. I sank into a chair, my hip aching, my heart heavier than I'd expected. Ava's fury wasn't a surprise, but her entitlement, "You owe me," cut deep. I'd raised her, loved her, and she saw me as a means to an end. I called Elaine, needing her voice to ground me. "Ava just left," I said, my tone flat. "She knows about the villa," came at me like a hurricane. Elaine snorted, "Bet she did." "You okay?" I paused, glancing at Tom's photo on the mantel, his smile steady as ever. "I will be." "She thinks she's entitled to everything. I gave her a home, a life, and she still wanted more. She's young," Elaine said, not unkindly, "but she crossed a line. You did right, Marion. Clara's good people." "I know," I said, a small smile breaking through. "Just hurts more than I thought." "Give it time," she said. "Ava might come around, or she might not. Either way, you've got you." I hung up, the words settling. I'd faced Ava's storm and stood my ground. The villa was Clara's, a gift born of mutual respect, not obligation. Ava's threats lingered, a loose thread I couldn't tie off, but I wasn't afraid. She'd underestimated me, thought I'd cave to her tears or her rage. But I was Marion Calloway, 67, with a cane and a heart that still beat strong. I'd lost my granddaughter's loyalty, but I'd gained something else. Clara's friendship, my own resolve, a future I'd shape myself. I stood, limping to the porch swing, the Savannah air warm and heavy. Ava might fight, might scheme, but I was ready. The villa was gone, but I wasn't. And whatever came next, her regret, her silence, or something else, I'd face it with the same calm I'd shown her today. I swung gently, Tom's watch ticking on my wrist, and let the quiet wrap around me. I'd paid my lesson, and now I was free. Ava's furious exit left my Savannah home quieter than it had been in years, the echo of her slammed door lingering like a warning. Her words, "You owe me," and her threat to fight for the villa stung, but they didn't shake me. I'd faced her storm, calm and unyielding, and told her the truth. I'd given the villa to Clara, not out of spite, but because Clara had shown me kindness when Ava had left me stranded at the airport post-surgery. The villa, Tom's 40th anniversary gift, was now in hands that valued it, and I felt lighter for it. Ava's entitlement had revealed her, and though my heart ached for the granddaughter I'd raised, I wasn't chasing her anymore. I was Marion Calloway, 67, and I was done carrying her weight. A week later, as I watered my garden, an email from Clara arrived, brightening the humid morning. Attached were photos of her at the villa, standing in the olive grove, her gray hair catching the Tuscan sun, a wide smile on her face. She wore a linen dress, her hands full of rosemary sprigs, the stone house glowing behind her. "Marion," her message read, "this place is more than I ever dreamed. I'm planting herbs, writing a bit, feeling alive again. You're welcome here anytime. Your room's ready. Thank you, forever." I traced the photos with my finger, Tom's memory stirring. Clara wasn't just living there, she was honoring the villa's heart, something Ava never could. I replied, "Looks like home, Clara. I'll visit soon. Keep those herbs growing." The photos grounded me, a reminder that my choice was right. I'd given the villa to someone who saw me, not as an obligation, but as a friend. But Ava's shadow hadn't faded. I knew she'd lash out, her threat to fight for the villa more than bluster. So when Elaine called that afternoon, her voice buzzing with news, I braced myself. "Marion, you sitting down?" she said, barely containing her excitement. "Ethan, Ava's ex, just posted a bombshell online. It's all over Savannah." I set my watering can down, my pulse quickening. "What did he say?" "He called Ava out, said she's been manipulating everyone. Posted screenshots of texts where she tried to bribe his mom, Clara, to push him into proposing, offered her money, even hinted at getting her a stake in your villa if she played along. People are losing it. Her friends are dropping her, and her freelance gigs are drying up. I leaned against the porch rail, the weight of it sinking in. Ava hadn't just abandoned me or schemed to rent the villa. She'd tried to buy her way into Ethan's life, using Clara as a pawn and my home as leverage. The betrayal was deeper than I'd imagined. A pattern of control Clara had warned me about. "She's burning bridges," I said, my voice steady but heavy. "More like torching them," Elaine said. "Folks are done with her. You okay?" I paused, glancing at Clara's email, still open on my phone. "I'm okay. Just sad for her, in a way. She's doing this to herself." "Don't you go soft," Elaine warned. She made her bed. "I'm not," I said, a small smile breaking through. "I'm just glad Clara's got the villa. She deserves it." I hung up, the garden's hum filling the silence. Ava's reputation was crumbling, her lies exposed not just to me but to the world. Ethan's post was a public reckoning, one I hadn't sought but couldn't ignore. I opened my laptop, curious, and found the post on a local forum. Ethan's words were measured but damning, the screenshots clear. Ava's texts to Clara, offering cash and promises, her tone cold, calculating. "If you get Ethan to propose, I'll make it worth your while. Maybe a cut of Nana's villa when she's gone." My stomach twisted. She'd been banking on my death, my legacy, as if it was hers to barter. I closed the laptop, my heart heavy but resolute. Ava's actions were her own, each one a choice to prioritize herself over everyone else. Me, Clara, Ethan. I'd given her a home, a life, and she'd seen it as a debt I owed her. Now the world was seeing her for who she was. I didn't need to add to her downfall. She'd built it herself. That evening, I sat on my porch swing, Tom's watch ticking on my wrist, its rhythm a quiet anchor. I thought of Clara in the villa, planting herbs, writing, living a life she'd earned through compassion. I thought of Ava, her world shrinking, her anger isolating her. And I thought of myself, no longer the grandmother waiting for apologies, but a woman who'd chosen her own path. My voice, steady in my mind, cut through the dusk. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Ava had shown me, over and over, at the airport, with the villa listing. In her text to Clara, I'd believed her, and I'd acted. I called Clara, needing to hear her voice. "Marion," she answered, her warmth instant. "I was just thinking of you. The rosemary's thriving." I smiled, picturing her in the grove. "Good to know. I saw your photos. You look happy." "I am," she said, her voice soft. "Thanks to you. You sure you're okay with this?" "I still can't believe it's mine." "I'm more than okay," I said. "It's where it belongs. Just keep that guest room ready." "Always," she said, laughing. "Come back soon." We hung up, and I swung gently, the Savannah air thick with jasmine. Ava's collapse was news, but it wasn't my victory. My victory was this: my home, my choices, my peace. I volunteered at the senior center the next day, teaching a knitting class, my cane propped nearby. The women shared their own stories of betrayal, of learning to stand alone. And I listened, my own story unspoken, but understood. I was Marion, not just a grandmother, but a woman who'd reclaimed her worth. Ava didn't call again, and I didn't expect her to. Her silence was answer enough. Maybe one day she'd see the cost of her choices, but that wasn't my burden. I had Clara's photos, Elaine's friendship, the garden blooming under my care. I had myself, and that was more than enough. As the swing creaked, I closed my eyes. Tom's watch steady against my pulse. The villa was Clara's. Ava was gone, and I was here, alive, free, believing the truth I'd always known, but finally embraced. The fallout from Ava's exposed lies left a quiet mark on my days, but not a heavy one. Ethan's public post, revealing her attempt to bribe Clara into manipulating him, had unraveled her carefully curated image in Savannah. Her freelance clients dropped her, friends distanced themselves, and the town's whispers followed her. I didn't revel in her downfall. It was her own doing. a consequence of the choices that began with leaving me stranded at the airport post-surgery and deepened with her scheme to rent out my villa. Clara's photos from Tuscany, her smile bright against the villa's stone walls, were my anchor, proof that I'd placed my trust and Tom's legacy in hands that cherished it. I was Marion Calloway, and I'd learned to believe people when they showed their true selves. Ava had, and I'd moved on. Spring in Savannah bloomed with jasmine and possibility, and I leaned into it, my hips stronger, my heart lighter. I volunteered more at the senior center, teaching knitting and swapping stories with women who'd faced their own betrayals. Elaine's coffee dates kept me grounded, her sharp humor a reminder that I wasn't alone. Clara's emails, full of updates about the villa's herb garden and her memoir drafts, were a steady joy. I'd visit her soon, I promised myself. But for now, Savannah was home, and I was building a life on my terms. One morning, as I watered my garden, I reflected on the years I'd poured into Ava, raising her after her parents' death, funding her college, believing her promises. I'd given her everything, only to be dismissed as an obligation. The villa, Tom's 40th anniversary gift, was meant to be our shared legacy, but she'd tried to turn it into her profit. Clara, a stranger turned friend, had shown me more care in a day than Ava had in years. The truth settled in me, clear and unyielding. I don't have much time left to waste on people who don't care. I'll spend the rest of my days with those who do. I walked to the post office that afternoon, my cane tapping a steady rhythm, a postcard for Clara in my hand. I'd scribbled a note, "Your rosemary's stealing my heart. Save me a sprig for summer." Smiling, I slid it into the mailbox, the act small but grounding. Clara wasn't just the villa's new keeper. She was family, chosen through mutual respect, not blood. The sun warmed my shoulders as I headed to a nearby cafe for brunch with Elaine and a few women from the senior center. Their laughter greeted me as I approached, and I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. We sat outside, the table crowded with coffee cups and pastries, stories flowing as freely as the breeze. Elaine teased me about my famous online posts, which had sparked local women to share their own tales of standing up to betrayal. "You're a legend, Marion," she said, winking. "Next, you'll be writing a book." I laughed, sipping my tea. "Maybe, but I'm happy with this. Good friends, good food, no one calling me an obligation." The group chuckled, but I caught a flicker of movement across the street. A car idled, its window cracked, and through it, I saw Ava. Her face was pale, her eyes fixed on me. No trace of the fury she'd unleashed in my kitchen weeks ago. She looked lost. Our eyes met for a moment, and I held her gaze, my smile fading, but my calm intact. She didn't wave, didn't get out. She just watched, silent, as I turned back to my friends, their voices pulling me back into the warmth of the moment. I didn't know why she was there, regret, curiosity, or something else. But it didn't matter. Ava had made her choices, from the airport to the villa scheme, to the lies that cost her everything. I'd given her a lesson, not with cruelty, but with boundaries. And I wasn't opening that door again, not unless she earned it. And that was a long road I wasn't sure she'd walk. As brunch ended, I hugged Elaine, promising to host the next one. "You're glowing, Marion," she said, squeezing my hand. "Like you've shed 100 pounds. "Feels like it," I said, my cane steady as I walked home. The postcard to Clara was on its way. My garden waited, and my life was full, not of obligations, but of people who saw me. I thought of Ava in her car, watching from the outside, and felt a pang, but not enough to pull me back. She'd shown me who she was, and I'd believed her the first time. That evening, I sat on my porch swing, Tom's watch ticking on my wrist, its rhythm a quiet companion. The jasmine scented the air, and I closed my eyes, picturing Clara in the villa, her hands in the soil, her laughter echoing where mine and Tom's once did. I'd visit, maybe in summer, share a meal, walk the grove. But here, in Savannah, I was home, surrounded by friends who chose me as I chose them. Ava's silence was her own, and I was done carrying it. I swung gently, the creak of the swing, a soft lullaby. I was Marion, not just a grandmother, but a woman who'd reclaimed her days. The villa was Clara's, my heart was mine, and my future was open, bright, unburdened. I smiled, the weight of Ava's betrayal gone, replaced by the freedom of knowing who I'd spend my time with and who I wouldn't. Have you ever had to teach someone a hard lesson to protect your peace? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if this story moved you. There's more where this came from.